There is a popular view that during a moratorium, the borrower doesn't pay interest, he pays later, that is fine. But if interest is charged on that interest, that is unfair, that is penalizing the borrower when he is down and out during COVID. The court also is taking a view that interest charged on interest is a penalty. Now, what I'm trying to explain today is that interest charged on interest is normal banking practice and should not be seen as a penalty. And let me tell you why. Suppose the banks were to say that, borrowers who are hard hit don't have to pay interest for a few months, they can pay it, say, 2 years down the line. Don't you think all borrowers will take advantage of it? I am paying an EMI every month of, say, 1 lakh. And during COVID, I still have a job. But I will take advantage of the moratorium. 6 months, 6 lakh rupees. I will not pay the bank. I'll put it as an FD in another bank, or I'll put it in a money market mutual fund or in the share market, earn interest on it, and 5 years later pay the bank only the principal. If all borrowers found this to be the ploy, how will the bank pay interest to the depositor? So that is why the bank says that if you take advantage of this facility, you have to pay interest on the interest, so that it safeguards the depositors. A second point I want to make is the time value of money. Suppose I have to pay 1 lakh for 6 months and it is 6 lakh rupees. I don't pay it now. I pay it 5 years down the line. 5 years down the line, 6 lakhs is not going to fetch the same goods and services it fetches today. Why? Because every year there is inflation. 6 years later or 5 years later, that 6 lakh of money will perhaps have 30% less purchasing power. That is why an interest is charged on this interest when it is paid late. A third point I want to make is that in the equation, when the borrower is given a benefit, that benefit comes from whom? It comes at the cost of the depositor and the shareholder. The bank is an intermediary. It is not generating money out of thin air. What it does, it takes money from the saver, gives it to the borrower. Or it raises money in the capital markets, takes it from shareholders and gives it in the form of loans. So if the borrower is late or becomes a bad loan, the bank invariably passes that cost on to the saver and gives the saver a lower interest on his FD or on his savings deposit. Now it is quite possible that the saver or the depositor also has lost his job because of COVID. And at that time you are paying him lower interest on his savings. How fair is that? Just because you want to save a borrower. The point is, in the court, only one side is getting heard, the borrower. And usually borrowers are slightly better off people. If I am buying a car and I am paying an EMI, or I have bought a house and I am paying an EMI, I am usually slightly better off than my maid who only has a deposit, or maybe my aged grandparents who have kept deposits in the bank and are eating out of that interest. EMIs are normally by people who are slightly well off, who have already paid up their other interests. Or borrowers are usually people who own companies. They are much better off people. So to take away money from the depositor and help a borrower is not necessarily fair. And in the court, only the interest of the borrower is heard because he can afford a lawyer. The depositor doesn't even know that his interest is being sacrificed, and therefore he is not even represented in the court. It is an iniquitous hearing in that sense. Finally, the court points out that economic policies have to be made by governments and regulators. It cannot be left to the bank, an economic policy like giving relief to borrower. Now, I want to point out here that economic policy is made by my tax money. What I pay as taxes can be distributed by the government to the poor for anything. But what I keep in my bank is my post-tax savings. It is my private saving. That cannot be used in public purposes like giving relief to borrowers. Again, RBI is accused as being protecting the interest of the bank. What is the bank? The bank is not the bank chairman or the employee. The bank is its depositors. So RBI is trying to guard the interest of the depositor also. That is why it is allowing that interest be charged on interest. It is best that this idea of how to charge a borrower who wants moratorium be left to RBI. The court is hearing only one side of the case. Interest on interest is not penalty, it's normal banking practice. That's the point I want to make.